It certainly seems that if you wait long enough, just about everything comes back in fashion after about 25 years or so. An anecdotal case in point would be tie-dye t-shirts. I could have puked when they came back into fashion sometime around '05, and my mother told me how many hundreds of shirts she had thrown away, thinking they would never come back. So it seems also with the chopper look that was so popular in the '60s and '70s. The difference now is that manufacturers are producing showroom choppers with rake values that come close to some of the radical rides from that era. I haven't seen any genuine stretch in the downtubes yet, but there's always next year, I suppose. Star Motorcycles introduced the Stryker back in 2011 to take advantage of the resurgent popularity of the chopped look, and here we are in 2016. The showroom chopper race is definitely heating up with more manufacturers looking to break into the niche, so let's take a look at the star contenders in the form of the Stryker and Stryker Bullet Cowl. Long and low, the Stryker family comes with a dose of nostalgia added liberally through. The big, V-twin engine, bobbed fenders front and rear, and of course, the steering headrate take us right back to when Motown was king, and the outlaw bike culture was thriving on US soil. While there is no actual stretch in the frame, the lines from the high peak of the gas tank flow sharply downhill to their nadir in the bucket of the rider's saddle, only to rise once again to the pillion pad. The overall effect of the vertical variation leaves us with at least the suggestion of some stretch, and though the Stryker lacks the triangular swing arm some manufacturers use when reaching for this look, the overall frame geometry leaves the impression that it could be a rigid, as long as you don't look too closely. A big, skinny front wheel and wide, bulky rear tire completes the panache, and though it isn't quite as faithful to the target look as, say, the Star Raider, it still demonstrates a fair amount of fidelity overall. While the Stryker comes in a fetching galaxy blue color with some chrome sprinkled about, its Bullet Cowl brother sports matte gray sheet metal, literally, no plastic here, with the blackout treatment everywhere else. The cowl and the colors mark the major differences betwixt the two. Star uses a tubular steel frame in a double downtube, double cradle configuration, with an open neck at the steering head. While the head is set with a caster angle of 34 degrees, a fairly wide angle by normal standards, the 6-degree offset in the triple tree adds up to an overall rake of 40 degrees. I'm sure I don't have to belabor the point as to how radical that much rake looks, especially on a production model. This bike is by no means an exercise in subtlety. Unlike its predecessors, and no doubt partially for legal reasons, the Stryker doesn't handle like a chopper. Though the extreme rake pushes the front wheel out for a long, 68.9-inch wheelbase and 99.6-inch overall length, Star manages to keep the trail reasonable at only 4.3 inches. This counteracts the flop-over front-end feeling you get with a homey-built chopper, and keeps the minimum turning radius just under 140 inches, so it handles more or less like any other long bike, and is well behaved in the corners. The frame's backbone yoke pushes the seat down to a mere 26.4 inches, close to the bottom edge of the range, so the ground is easily within reach for the vertically challenged. However, the forward controls may be a stretch, even uncomfortable, for the shortest riders, and the windsock rider position will exacerbate the problem as wind pressure and engine torque tries to push you even further away from your footrests. Salient point here is, test ride before you buy, especially if you have never ridden feet first before. Aluminum rims come with 5 saber-like spokes that do nothing to represent designs of years past, but they do look mighty cool. While the Stryker comes with polished aluminum for a bit of bling, the Stryker Bullet Cowl model runs blackout rims that tie in with its overall dark and handsome look. A single, 320mm disc and twin-piston hydraulic caliper binds the front wheel, with an uncommonly large, 310mm disc and single-pot caliper binds the rear. Honestly, that may be a bit overkill for a rear brake disc, But since it runs a single disc up front and no ABS, I'll take it. Just be careful not to stomp the pedal in a panic and you will be fine. Right side up front forks buoy the front on 5.3 inches of travel, and a hidden monoshock floats the rear on 3.9 inches of travel. Not stellar, but just fine for most civilized roads. You cannot build a bike meant to hail back to American-made rides of the past without a big, V-twin engine, a fact not lost on Star. The factory stuffed an 80 cubic inch 1,304cc mill into the frame for propulsion duties, and outwardly it fits the look but actually falls into the mid-size category since Harley, Victory and Indian started producing 100+ inch engines as of late. The 60-degree V-twin comes with cooling fins that furthers the look, but the water jacket on the engine and the radiator actually see to the cooling action. A 40mm McCuney dual-bore throttle body meters the air-fuel ratio, and the engine breathes through a pair of 36mm intake valves and 32mm exhaust valves, for a total of 4 per head. Usually, mid-sized to large V-twins run in a long-stroke configuration, but the 100mm bore and 83mm stroke put it firmly in over square, short-stroke territory. This leaves the engine with 78 pound and 80 pence-feet of grunt at 3,500 RPM, plenty for most around-town riding unless you plan to bet your pink slip on an ill-advised drag race. Ceramic plating on the piston bore reduces friction and wear to extend engine life, and the forged pistons help to reduce reciprocating mass to give the bearings in the lower end a break. Best of all, Star put both connecting rods on a common throw, so the engine has that distinctive look that American cruiser riders find so attractive. The 5-speed transmixer and belt drive complete the running gear. At $11,690, the Stryker is competitively priced, and it even puts big bike function in reach of first-time buyers. For another $4, you can opt for the Bullet Cowl and its menacing, Black Ops paint scheme. Both come with a 12-month limited factory warranty.